At the beginning, risk feels loud. It announces itself. It produces adrenaline. You notice it. Early on, risk demands attention. Every decision feels deliberate. Every action feels weighted. You double check. You hesitate. You feel the presence of consequence. But risk doesn't stay loud. If it did, no one could tolerate it for long. What actually happens is quieter. Risk becomes familiar. Familiarity becomes routine. Routine becomes background. And background eventually becomes invisible. This process is known as normalization of risk. It isn't recklessness. It isn't stupidity. It's adaptation. Human systems are designed to adapt. Our nervous systems adjust to sustained pressure. Our attention reallocates. Our sense of normal recalibrates. That ability is usually a strength. Inside high-risk systems, it becomes a liability. At first, danger is interpreted correctly. Small signals matter. Ambiguity reads as warning. Discomfort is taken seriously. Then, something subtle happens. Nothing goes wrong. And then nothing goes wrong again. The system rewards you, not with safety, but with silence. No feedback, no correction, no consequence. That silence starts to feel like evidence. Evidence that the system works. Evidence that your judgment is sound. Evidence that risk was overstated. What goes unnoticed is that the absence of failure is not the same thing as safety. This is where perception begins to drift. Early warning signals don't disappear, they get reclassified. What once felt dangerous starts to feel inefficient. What once felt risky starts to feel inconvenient. Caution begins to feel like friction. Eventually, hesitation starts to feel like a flaw. This is how intelligent people talk themselves into exposure. Not by ignoring danger, but by redefining it. There's another layer to this process that often goes unnoticed: identity. When you live inside a high-risk system long enough, your reference points change. You stop comparing your decisions to the outside world. You compare them to yesterday. And yesterday went fine. That comparison feels rational. It feels grounded. It's also deeply misleading. Systems don't fail gradually. They fail asymmetrically. They absorb pressure. They tolerate deviation. They bend until they don't. From the inside, this never feels like escalation. It feels like maintenance, like keeping things running, like doing what you already know how to do. Collapse doesn't announce itself. It feels continuous. This is why outcomes feel sudden in hindsight. From the outside, people see a sharp break. From the inside, it felt incremental. Nothing changed, except the margin you didn't realize you were consuming. Normalization of risk doesn't make people careless. It makes them comfortable. And comfort inside a clandestine system is the most dangerous signal there is. Comfort reduces vigilance. It narrows attention. It replaces active judgment with habit. By the time discomfort returns, it's often too late to act on it. Once risk feels normal, something else begins to change: the story you tell yourself. Early on, decisions require justification. You explain them internally. You test them against discomfort. You ask whether they make sense. Later, justification becomes unnecessary. Not because the decisions are better, but because they feel obvious. Obvious decisions don't get examined. They get repeated. This is where normalization of risk becomes self-reinforcing. Instead of asking, "Is this dangerous?" the question quietly shifts to, "Why wouldn't I do this?" That shift feels small. It isn't. When people describe how they ended up inside a failed system, they often say they never made a single bad decision. And from their perspective, that's true. Each decision made sense in isolation. Each step felt justified by the previous one. Risk doesn't get ignored, it gets contextualized. You tell yourself, this is temporary. This is controlled. This is calculated. This is necessary. Those explanations feel responsible. They feel adult. They also prevent interruption. The more you explain risk to yourself, the less likely you are to question it. Eventually, questioning begins to feel disloyal to the system, to the identity you built inside it, or to the version of yourself that believes this is working. At that point, exit stops feeling like safety. It starts to feel like failure. This is why people stay longer than they should, even when they sense something is wrong. Leaving would require admitting that the comfort you trusted was never evidence of control. Normalization of risk doesn't just dull fear, it rewrites meaning. By the time discomfort returns, it often arrives as shock, not warning, and shock is not a good moment for decision making. This process doesn't only apply to illegal systems. It applies to corporate environments, security operations, and institutions, anywhere sustained risk is normalized without immediate consequence. Normalization of risk explains why warnings are ignored, why concerns get minimized, and why people insist everything was fine, right up until it wasn't. It also explains why exiting becomes difficult. When risk feels normal, leaving feels disruptive. It feels like overreacting, like breaking continuity, like creating a problem where none exists. Normalization of risk isn't a failure of character. It's a failure of feedback. A system that doesn't signal danger clearly trains its participants to ignore it. In the next episode, we'll talk about the illusion of control, why familiarity gets mistaken for mastery, and how confidence becomes the last blind spot before exposure. This is self-sabotage.